Hello, my name is Kerri Dohring, and I am the lead facilitator for IPAC, and I'm also the Live for Success coach. And I'm excited that you're here today because I've gotten a lot of questions on the Energy Leadership Assessment, and a lot of you have been wanting to know, hey, what is that show? What is that about? So I'm excited to take a few moments today just to explain a little bit more about it. Essentially, the Energy Leadership Assessment is about a 10-minute assessment. It's very quick, and what it measures is it measures your overall reactions day to day under normal circumstances, and then it also measures your reactions under stress, which is really key because once you become aware of your default tendencies and how you react to stress, it's the first step towards reducing that stress. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Imagine for just a moment that you are in an intense amount of stress, maybe some anger, some resentment, and then all of a sudden you're able to step outside of yourself for just a moment and stop yourself from that reaction. And it's almost like you're a director that yells, "Cut!" and you're done. You've stopped experiencing that emotion, you pull yourself out of it, and you start to see the greater good of the situation. And that's really the power of this assessment. It's very quick, it's very easy to take, and the results are extremely powerful because you almost become a participant and an observer in your own life at the same time. And especially when stress hits, you become that participant and that observer. Now, there's 7 levels of energy that the assessment kind of provides to you, and it shows you your own unique perspective as to how you fall into those 7 levels of energy. And it also averages them out for you and shows you your own unique number as to where you fall under normal circumstances and under stress. So let me take you through those 7 levels of energy very briefly. People with a lot of level 1 energy, and that's our lowest level, people with a lot of level 1 energy tend to have a lot of victim energy. And we just mean that you're at the effect of something, you're at the effect of that stress. Folks with a lot of level 2 energy, however, are really characterized by conflict, some anger, and some resentment. When you get into more of the level 3, this is where you start to rationalize, you start to forgive, and you start to kind of pull yourself out of the stress a little bit. Whereas folks with a lot of level 4 energy tend to have more of that compassion, that service to others, and wanting to really dig in and help people. When you get into level 5, however, level 5 is where you really get into more of that confident, that peace, that fulfillment. Whereas level 6 is all about connection. And the reason why you're so connected is because you're not so much tied to the outcomes of things anymore, you're more or less tied to the experience of things. And then when you get into level 7, that's our highest level of energy. That's where you really have a lot of non-judgment and a lot of passion. And you have that passion because you know you can really co-consciously create your life at the same time. So those are our 7 levels of energy, and that's exactly what the assessment shows you. It's where you fall under those 7 levels. It really has a powerful impact because, again, you do become that participant and that observer at the same time. And I usually like to tell my clients a little bit of a story to kind of bring all of these points home for you and make it a little bit clearer. So for the story, there was one, and I didn't write the story, by the way. This is just something that I read, and I thought it really captured the essence of the assessment. So there was once a young woman who traveled to her mother's house, and she was under an extreme amount of stress, and she sat in her mother's kitchen and just unloaded all of that stress. And as the mother listened, she began to boil 3 pots of water. And in one pot she boiled some carrots, in another she boiled some hard-boiled eggs, and in another she threw in some coffee beans. And the daughter continued to pour out the emotion. And as she did, the mother then removed all 3 items and put them into each into 3 separate bowls. She then interrupted the daughter and said, "Hey, listen, I want you to tell me what you see here." And the daughter looked over and said, "Well, carrots, eggs, and coffee beans, Mother. What are you getting at?" And the mother said, "Well, just bear with me. I want you to just take a moment." And she said, "Touch these carrots for me for just a moment." And the daughter said, "All right, well, they're soft. What are you getting at?" She said, "Okay, well, I want you to crack open an egg and tell me what you feel here." She said, "Well, it's hard." "Okay." She said, "It's hard. What are you getting at?" She said, "Well, just bear with me. Go ahead and take a sip of the coffee for a second." Daughter took a sip of the coffee, and she said, "Okay, well, that's actually quite nice." And the mother said, "Okay." She said, "The reason why I asked you to do this, the reason why I stopped you here is because I want you to think about this. All 3 of these items were faced with the same adversity, the boiling water. The carrots went into that boiling water, feeling hard, feeling strong, and yet they came out just weakened and tender and no longer the same consistency as when they first went in. Whereas the eggs had that liquid spirit, that spirit that went in, but they became hardened and bitter and toughened by the boiling water. But then you take the coffee bean, she said, the coffee bean actually changed the scope of the water. Instead of being changed, the coffee bean went in and went, okay, well, how can I make the best of this situation? And made something even more wonderful than it was before. So the mother turned to the daughter and she said, I know you're going through a tough time right now, but I really want you to think about this. When adversity hits, which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the carrot? Do you want to be the egg? Or do you want to be the coffee bean? And so I say this story, or I tell you this story, because I want you to think about the same. When adversity hits you, are you that carrot? Do you go in hard and strong and then wilt under the pressure and become softened as somebody with a lot of level 1 energy might do? Do you become victim to that adversity? Or are you that egg that goes in with a tremendous spirit and a toughened shell, but when you're faced with that adversity, are you kind of overwhelmed by that conflict? Do you become angry and resentful and hardened and bitter? Or are you like the coffee bean where you go in and you say, hey, okay, not the greatest of circumstances, but how do I make the best of this? How do I become better from all of this? So that's the essence of the energy leadership assessment. It really shows you, are you that carrot, are you that egg, or are you that coffee bean when stress hits? And as I tell you this story, if you're not really sure, well, that's the power of the assessment, because I can tell you that in just a few minutes of an assessment, show you exactly where you land when stress hits. So if you'd like to know more, I invite you to please contact me, and I thank you for listening today. Have a great day.